after I've introduced the first person to do, and then we'll just accept. Yeah.
I know. Yes, it's like now the problem is the background.
That's why we want it on the side. There are a lot of people online are viewing this, and we must also create.
Yeah. So.
Stand there by the door, then when they close,
You
then I will
signal.
just signal.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, thanks. Was they well, Ben? They are coming from the side. Yeah. It's gonna be. Okay. But remember when they are moving, you want to sign. Okay. So I ukazana kuweka watu wawili. My worry is what about people who are yeah, oh, but they've moved them that side.
No, it's fine. But the branding plan was clear.
It's okay.
Ngicela siyifake ngapha le. This one siyifake kwenzala. Le siyifake ngapha.
Eh?
This one siyiposition kwenzala.
Consider what?
This side. Siyidonsele ngapha.
Okay. Wait, this side.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I'm looking at the branding. Yeah.
They didn't check the credit line, eh?
Wasiyeke kanje. Because abanazo.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. May we please rise to welcome the CG? Not yet. Oh, false alarm. Apologies. Where are they? Are they not coming? They said they are coming. Maybe we can do that if they are far. Check with that lady.
2.
Good morning, colleagues. May we please rise? This is not the false alarm again. They are here, so let us please rise to welcome them. And as soon as everybody is in, we will transition into the singing and the signing of our national anthem. May we please remain standing so that we sing the national anthem. Thank you very much. We may be seated. Good morning once more, colleagues. Molweni.
Dumela, Thobela, Abusheni, Goeiemorgen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege and honor to be co-directing this program today. My name is Dr. Sally Maeva. I am the acting executive head for languages for the Pan-African Language Board. I'm not alone. I am co-directing this program with my colleague, Dr. Onisa Chongolo, who is the Eastern Cape Senior Provincial Manager. Colleagues, allow me to just take you through the housekeeping and protocols here for today. We will also, before I forget, let me also acknowledge those that are online, that are joining us online via the live stream. We welcome you, colleagues, and we trust that you will have a meaningful experience with us. We are also privileged colleagues to have the Moroccan Sign Language interpreters on that side. And what we're going to request is that please let us refrain from walking in front of them because this will disturb or disrupt the effective conveyance of the message of our deaf participants that are seated here and those that are online today. We also request that all mobile phones be placed on silent or vibrate to allow a good flow of the program. Before we proceed, allow me to briefly reflect on the theme for today, which says that language rights as a means to accessing justice, understanding court proceedings, including judgments in your own language. Colleagues, this theme reminds us that justice cannot be fully realized if it is not fully understood. So for many people, language used in courts can become a barrier rather than a bridge. So when individuals do not understand the proceedings, especially if they are done in a language that people do not understand, this will affect their ability to participate in the justice system. So this is how our program is going to flow. Colleagues, there are some changes that are in the programs that we have at hand. And we are going to have it as follows. We will have the official welcome, which will be followed by the opening remarks and papers of the day. And then thereafter we have the pencil board address, and then the introduction of our guest speaker. Thereafter we have the keynote address by the Chief Justice, which we all know we are looking forward to, the highlights of today's engagement. Following the keynote, colleagues will have a brief entertainment and a photo session, after which we'll move into the respondents. So for the photo session, there will be people that will be directing our VIPs to go outside for a photo session, but everyone else will be remaining seated while we have the entertainment during the photo session outside. And then under these sessions, when we have the respondents' inputs, ladies and gentlemen, we'll also include the fifth input from Mr. Yonela Makoma, who will be bringing the valuable students and future focus perspective as indicated here on our program. And thereafter, we will immediately have the Q&A session, which will be led by our Senior Provincial Manager for Free State, Ms. Nipe Matebula. And then this will be followed by the way forward and closing remarks. And then after we have the vote of thanks. And then once the program is finalized, we will adjourn and have lunch and departure. So meaning we're not going to have the lunch before the Q&A as it is indicated here on the program. So ladies and gentlemen, without taking much of your time, allow me to call upon on stage Dr. Kandi Webu, who is the Vice Chancellor and the Principal of USU, to do the official welcome. Over to you, Doc.
Program Director and the Honorable Chief Justice Maya, my fellow colleagues, the executive of the institution, including the executive deans, distinguished members of the judiciary, esteemed guests, colleagues, and students, ladies and gentlemen. It is such a privilege and a profound honor to welcome Honorable Chief Justice Maya to our campus at Walter Sisulu University today for this important lecture on language rights as means to accessing justice, understanding court proceedings, including judgments in your own language. Honorable Chief Justice, to me, as a medical scientist, at first glance, it sounded like a legal question. But on engaging with the title, I realized that it actually confronts a a deeply human question. Who truly has access to justice in our society, and on what terms? Language is not simply a tool of communication. It is a carrier of identity, of dignity, and belonging. When individuals enter a courtroom and are unable to fully understand the proceedings that shape their lives, justice becomes distant, abstract, even exclusionary. In such moments, the promise of equality before the law may be compromised. This is why today's theme is so vital. It challenges us to reflect on the extent to which our legal system is accessible, inclusive, and responsive to the linguistic realities of our people. It calls on us to reimagine society and justice not only as something that is done, but as something that is understood. At Walter Sisulu University, an institution deeply rooted in community and committed to social justice, as you know it, Chief Justice, we recognize that access to education, to opportunity, and indeed to justice must be meaningful. It must be lived and experienced, not merely proclaimed. This conversation speaks directly to one of our proposed institutional signature themes at the university on leadership, justice, and democratic futures. Through this theme, we seek to cultivate ethical, socially conscious leaders who are grounded in the values of constitutionalism, human rights, and democratic participation. It compels us to interrogate systems of power, to advance equity, and to ensure that justice is not only a legal construct, but a lived reality for all, particularly the most marginalized. Language rights sit at the heart of this agenda, because without linguistic inclusion, participation in democracy and access to justice remain incomplete. CEO, we are deeply honored to host this lecture and under the leadership and presence of the Honorable Chief Justice Meyer, whose distinguished career continues to advance the values of constitutionalism, transformation, and human dignity in our country. Importantly, today's lecture is not only a moment that stands alone, it's the beginning of a broader critical dialogue. Following the lecture, as already explained by the program director, we'll engage in a panel discussion featuring distinguished voices who bring diverse and deeply informed perspectives on language, law, and justice. I want to thank my colleagues, and particularly colleagues from the academic sector, Professor Monami Sakalakali, together with the members of the panel, President of the Black Lawyers Association, Secretary of the National Democratic Lawyers Association, and Mr. Lawrence, committed language rights activist. We look forward to their insights, which will enrich our understanding of both the challenges and the possibilities in advancing linguistic justice within our legal system. Also in the same panel, we have a futuristic engagement led by a student panel, which is now just joined the bigger panel. It's particularly important to do this because it brings the conversation, the voices of those who will inherit, shape, and transform the legal and social systems of tomorrow. Signals our university's belief that the future of justice must be co-created with young people, grounded in innovation, inclusivity, and new ways of thinking about law and access. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, today's engagement is important, and we must listen carefully and reflect deeply, and as they say, we must act boldly. Compels us to seek with resolve opportunities that bridge the gap between legal principle and lived experience to ensure that justice is not only delivered, but also heard, understood, and trusted by all. You are most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mkwelu, for that warm and insightful welcome. We truly appreciate your leadership and the support for allowing you to host us in this beautiful university today. Colleagues, as a program director, I'm expected to lead the flow of the program. I'm not here to be summarizing each and every speaker's speech for the sake of time. I'm just here to be, allowing one person to come after the next. So with that being said, allow me to call upon the Senior Manager in Linguistic Human Rights, Tatana Jefrinkuna, to do the opening and unpack the purpose of why we are here today. Over to you, Tatana.
Good morning. First of all, I'm extremely humbled and honored to be given the opportunity to make this opening remarks on behalf of my institution. And let me take this opportunity again once more to welcome our Chief Justice. It's really an honor for me to have you here to raise our occasion. That's extremely important, and we're looking forward to it. Having said that, also let me acknowledge my institution, the Prince of African Language Board, under the leadership of Professor Yori Makoro, and your executive officer, Mr. Danchile, and the board, and also to all my colleagues. And also let me take this opportunity once more to say we also recognize the leadership of the university for making it possible for us to have this event, and also to make sure that assisting us to have the Chief Justice to be part of it, because she's an alumni of this university. That's very important for us. Having said that, also let me take an opportunity to ask, which is what normally my chairperson normally says, that I'm also trying to reflect in two heads. I'll be talking as a legal practitioner, one side, and also as a language activist on the other side. So you'll bear with me that most probably I'll deviate a little bit from what might be expected from the legal practitioner. So this might be disclaimer for now. Having said that, because I know we've got very important people here, and I want to make sure that I don't exclude anyone. So I'm going to say what people normally say, that I'm standing on the already established protocol, meaning that I don't want to exclude anyone. Maybe briefly, let me just explain that my background is human rights, and also as a practitioner. So I've been in many years in the field of human rights. I've worked for the South African Human Rights Commission for many years, and I've also practiced as an attorney. But for the past 3 years, I've joined this institution, the South African Language Board. It is very important that I must acknowledge this institution to open my eyes to really understand the importance of linguistic rights or language rights. That's critical, and I think that is why we're here. And secondly, having said that, so you will understand why I really appreciate the leadership of this institution. Although I'm not very far from retirement in my field, but I will make sure that I make further contribution to the issue of promotion of multilingualism and language rights. Having said that, because I've got only about 10 minutes, but it's very important and critical for me to state certain things. I normally like to quote our Constitution, the founding provisions of our Constitution. Firstly, it says, the Republic of South Africa is one democratic state founded in the following values: human dignity, achievement of equality, and advancement of human rights and freedoms. That's very critical when we're going to unpack the papers today, because without these values, then our democratic values doesn't make sense. And specifically, let me also make this special reference to our Chief Justice to say that she's the first, if not the only, justice or a judge who has made a judgment written in Xhosa at the Supreme Court level, the whole judgment. So, this clearly indicates that it's doable. If our Chief Justice, by example, was able to achieve that in Xhosa, I know some of us are struggling with our mother tongue. I mean, she's only speaking Xhosa. I try, but I also mix all other languages. So that is very plus for us today. And I think as language activists, we may take note of that. That's very important. Chief Justice is here for that. You know, having said that, so when you talk about the Constitution, let me wear my hat as a legal practitioner. If I'm a legal practitioner, if a policy has been adopted by the judiciary, in my practice, I have to follow that policy, which means I'm bound by that policy. But I'm just going to make a little remarks here, it won't take much time. Let's come to the issue of language. You know, our constitutional legal framework says that we've got 12 official languages. It imposes an obligation to the state to make sure that it must take positive steps to make sure that those languages are uplifted in practice. That is a constitutional directive. Having said that, it goes further that, of course, our judiciary has, I hope that will not cause controversy, but it's a reality. They've adopted English as a language of record. And that, I suppose, is based, maybe among other things, on practicality, because the Constitution do allow that. But in my head, as a language activist, meaning that as a practitioner, I respect that policy which has been adopted. However, in my capacity as a language activist, what is the position about the obligation to uplift those previously marginalized indigenous languages? What is the duty of the state? And going further, I need to also actually reflect that there are a lot of raising opposition. Of course, they've got implications, etc. I know that the issue of interpretation is covered in one provision of the Constitution. But as a language activist, because there's an obligation, particularly my institution has got a legal framework to make sure that, among other things, the languages must enjoy what we call parity of esteem. What is it in actual practice? So parity of esteem, from our point of view, the languages should at least try to equate them. But you know that this is not happening today. It will never happen tomorrow. But we've got a responsibility to make sure that this actually takes place. So having said that, I also want to make, and recently there's a very important thing there was a decision, one of the magistrates in a town around the Linguistic, whereby a legal practitioner who was interacting with the magistrate ended up using Xhosa in the process. And of course, that in actual fact irritated the magistrate, and there was just altercation between the presiding officer and the practitioner, up until the practitioner was actually convicted of contempt of court. In fact, the words used by the presiding officer was that you are putting the profession in disrepute because you are addressing me in Afrikaans. But common sense prevailed because the presiding officer, there was also another pending matter, which of course, same thing happened where a person was given but the legal aid was taking the matter on review. And in this one, the magistrate correctly said that, no, let me take this matter for review, automatic review to the higher court. And the presiding judge, I'm not going to the merits of the matter. The presiding judge actually acknowledged the fact that, no. Despite the fact that we know that the policy is off record, because of difficulties, record translation, etc., etc. But the issue of we cannot be deprived the practitioner to use his mother tongue. We know that in practice, some of the practitioners are struggling to express themselves in English or whatever. So having said that, the reality dictates that something ought to be done. So having said that, I hope that today, among other things, we have an opportunity to dwell on that and engage on that. And once more, I think it's extremely important to say that one of the arguments raised by the person, the legal practitioner, in actual fact, quoted the Chief Justice, who in actual fact, the Chief Justice is very passionate about the issue of promoting the previously marginalized indigenous languages. So having said that, I think I've said a lot, but the processes are still involved because of we have our esteemed panelists who are experts in a different field. They'll be able to deal with that. So for me, let me just say that Chief Justice, we are really humbled to have you here. We're looking forward to a constructive engagement with you. Thank you very much.
For setting the scene so clearly and also, outlining the purpose and the significance of the engagement that we're going to have today. And ladies and gentlemen, allow me to call upon Mpati, who is going to address us on behalf of the Pan-African Language Board, or Professor Loli Mapu Badenhorst, who is the chairperson of the board. Mama, Skapstok.
I am challenged, so you know that you need to adjust the microphone. But anyway, the co-director, both of you, Nuba, Dr. Chomba, now, Dr. Segenaye. I don't know, there's a tendency, Chief Justice, that whenever I'm supposed to be speaking, maybe pencil is using me a lot, my voice disappears. And there's a fire ABCT, because my voice is taken by pencil, but nevertheless, I wouldn't have missed this opportunity. But so that I don't offend you, I've already acknowledged the program directors, and to you, Honorable Chief Justice Maya, the VC and Principal, Dr. Ngweli, Swahazindini, for welcoming us in your space, and the DVC Teaching and Learning Professor Unity, and DVC for Research and Internationalization, Professor Mfeza. Also, I wish to acknowledge another DVC from another university who is also a forensic linguistics expert who is here, hence we are here, for Professor Onumalisi Khadakhala. Let me also acknowledge the president of the LSSA, the Law Society, and the LA, the Lawyers Association, that is in Jeddah. The Secretary of Nadel, I'm just going to say Nadel, so that the other people, when they stand up here, Chief Justice, you don't have to repeat all of this, so I'm making it easy for you. That's why I'm mentioning everybody. Then you can say, so we can just go over on my way. So I'm going to mention everybody to make your life easier. And also acknowledge the Secretary of Nadel, Tia, and the Council CEO, the acting CEO, that out about the country, Mshagazi, Spananazi, and the CFO. I have to acknowledge the CFO because otherwise I wouldn't have had fit to come here. So, if I look for CFO, acknowledge, and also you, the senior language linguistic human rights senior manager, and the structures of the respective structures of the Pan South African Language Board, the PANSAL. We have the PLCs, the provincial language committees. We have the NFUs, the National Lexicographic Units, and also we have the NLBs, the National Language Bodies. And please, colleagues, mind my language when I say bodies. The NLBs are not boards. They are NLBs. The B in NLB stands for bodies. There's only one board in pencil. That is our board. And the others, the other bodies. And they are mandated by the constitution of this country. So I need to say that because people make these mistakes, but I thought because I'm in the midst of the judiciary, let me set the record straight here. That is in order. And then also the senior provincial managers who are here, and from the other provinces, the panelists, the presenters, universities represented here. And also is already mentioned, UWC, University of Fort Hare, Nelson Mandela University, and I believe Konabasa Fundazwe from Zulu University of Zululand, and so on, the Tikuni Botan and the delegates, gentlemen, all protocols observed, and also the entire executive of Ubus, meeting Botan, Luchan, the Machilo, Abstain, San Bonan, Kaites. I believe the lady inside language is doing this. And then we educate the nation because we are being extremely live. When I'm greeting you alone, Chief Justice, I only say, ngiyenzangazi isandla ngibingelela wena. Kodwa ke ngoba nibaningi ngibheka wena ngala ngithi sanibonani emotweni ngibhekena ngala. Manje izandla zami zihamba kanje. Angiyethi ngishaya kanje. Ngiyabingelela kunjalo. Bese ke ngoba sisithuthukisa zonke ilimi ngithi away. Ngoba mangithi away uthi away cha akekho away. As depends on my presentation is usually available. I thought that it will be shown for the benefit of you, but anyway, nevertheless, I see it is not projected, but as pencil and also last correction. And as we were talking with the VC, and I said I commended the VC that you are amongst the first VCs not to say pencil. And everybody else, and they know, and everybody in the room, when somebody says pencil, you will see the entire house looks my direction. Because I'm very critical. How do you separate South Africa and put L between South Africa, our beloved country? We are Pan South African Language Board. Our mandate, we derive our mandate from the Constitution of the Republic, that is Act 108 of 1996, and the Pension Act 59 of 1995 as amended in 1999, and we are currently busy with the review. We are told that the review takes forever. Nevertheless, we are patient. In other aspects of its mandate stems from the additional sections of legislation, as well as policies, directives, and prescripts. The section 6.5 and B of the Constitution of our country, that is the Act 108 of 1996, provide for the establishment of the Pan South African language. So we are the only constitutional language mandate. Lababanye mhlambe singabiza ngabavaya amafongo. Now we are proudly South African, so we are the entity that is there. So the provisions that is in the Constitution, ladies and gentlemen, and to justice and the BC, is to promote and create conditions for the development of and use of official languages, uplifting of core. I was educated myself, it's not quite square, and sign languages, uplifting SASO, that's the acronym for South African Sign Language. And secondly, promotion and respect through equality of all official languages in our beloved country. And lastly, to ensure inclusivity in improving the use of marginalized languages. We have the structure via the DSET and the Minister of Arts and Culture, but we then have the portfolio committee of the Sport, Arts and Culture and the national speaker. So we have, I have a beautiful diagram. I'm disappointed that VC, as an academic myself, you're not giving me to shine in the university and project and show my animations, but nevertheless, and also our mandate is advancing access to justice and multilingual democracy. And let me indicate that the PENSAT role is to champion multilingualism based on the rights given by the law, as the act that I've already cited, is to monitor compliance. And from our side, I'd like to believe that the CEO will talk about compliance. We are deeply concerned as a board, that out of so many departments, 46 departments, 10, if not less, are compliant. For us, that is a concern. Chief Justice, we hope that we will be assisted, that we monitor compliance as we monitor compliance. And there's a questionnaire that we administered, and I'm not sure that the CEO will talk about it, and then that dealt with that only if your departments are compliant in that regard when it comes to multilingualism and language matters. And also our role is to make recommendations to all spheres of government on any language-related matter. And the language legislation compliance, I have 3 that I have to mention. Is the judiciary must be international. We must be rather intentional with how it communicates. The courts as organs of state must deliberate and prioritize multilingual communication to ensure access to justice, proactively enabling litigants, witnesses, accused persons, and legal practitioners to use their preferred official languages during the proceedings, supported by professional interpreting services, not interpretation. I make a distinction that there is a distinction when I teach the module on interpreting. I make a distinction between interpretation and interpreting, because interpretation for us as the linguists, it is intralingual, whereas interpreting is interlingual. I'm not giving my 101 lecture because you won't believe. The second aspect is to ensure compliance with legislative and constitutional frameworks